Hello, everyone. Derek Floyd here, Beautiful Now Podcast. Welcome to another segment of Chasing the Impossible. This is the segment where I interview special guests who just happen to have done impossible things and let them share their journey with you, the viewer, to remind you that no matter how crazy your dreams may be, they're still worth chasing and you can get to yours too. Have that vision, stay focused, and you can make it happen. Now, as always, our segments are brought to you by IK Multimedia and Lewitt Microphones. If you enjoyed the content you see here, please hit a like or subscribe to make sure you get the most current content when it's available. Now, today's special guest is someone that I just met, a brand new friend, but someone that I've admired for a very long time. And he just happens to be the founder of one of the most groundbreaking, award-winning a cappella vocal groups that's ever been around. You guys remember Take Six? Of course you do. This gentleman has made this sextet one of the most sought-after, award-winning groups of all time. With their unique sound and their unique vision, they have brought us so many years of great music, over 30 to be exact. And I want to make sure we give him a warm welcome because I know he's got a great story to tell. Would you please help me welcome Mr. Claude McKnight? Claude, you there, buddy?
Right here. How are you?
Man, what's good, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. You see the smile, so life is good. Life is good.
You rocking that aqua blue green color pretty strong. I'm like, you good with that?
The funny thing is, my whole wardrobe is either black, gray, or some shade of blue. I got this one out today.
Oh man, you didn't get that just today, for real?
I pulled it out today.
Oh, I thought you said you just got it today. I'm like, for real?
Nah,
just
no.
just for this interview? I appreciate that, man. I want to get something new. I appreciate that, man. Man, you staying safe out there, washing hands, get away from this COVID nonsense?
You know what? I'm doing my part. Yes. I'm not a person, quite honestly, who is a panicker, but I want to do my part, especially when I'm out amongst people who may not only be, have the possibility of getting this virus, but people who may be tripping emotionally. They don't need to see me doing stuff and not wearing a mask and that, there's too much of that going on out there. So whatever I can do to alleviate some of that, yeah, I'm doing it.
And I'm seeing folks, man, no mask, walking around, just hanging out. I live in Charlotte, and our governor put a lockdown on a lot of that stuff early, and he's not letting a lot of the bars back open up and gyms and everything. But then you got Florida going nuts, Cali, where you are, going nuts. I'm like, man, how are you dealing with that? Are people just panicking on the street?
Well, the crazy thing is, we were in complete lockdown for about a month, I think. And it's crazy because I live in this high rise, and one of the major arteries in LA is right down here. And I would look down there and see no cars at all for weeks at a time. And then they opened up the bars, they opened up the restaurants, they opened up the gyms, and people went crazy, man. And then they shut it all down again. So it's like we got that tease for about a week and a half, and now we're shut down again. Restaurants are open, but only al fresco, out on the sidewalk.
If folks don't know how to act, man, they don't know how to act.
And I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I sure do appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your crazy schedule because I know you're busy, man. You got so much going on. And, just to talk to the subscribers and share your story, I'm inspired by it. And I know others will be too. So, again, thank you so much for just taking a few minutes, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So let's just kick right into a little bit of the interview, man. Growing up in the church, I mean, just like me, I think most black folks have grown up in some kind of church somewhere, but, taking that spot, I'm sure there was a lot of singing in your house. Everybody's doing their thing. When did you discover that you had a passion for this singing thing?
Okay, so this is a really interesting question. I'm going to answer it in a way that you probably will be really surprised by. So my brother Brian, who is the youngest of the four boys, I'm the oldest, has done numerous interviews and had that same question. And the way he's answered it is the same way I would think about it. So my family has always been very, very musical. Everybody in our family, not just our immediate family, but our extended family. So um, family reunions were always singing, from beginning to end. Church was singing from beginning to end. It wasn't until we got to school that we realized that everybody didn't sing. This singing thing was just something that we thought everybody did.
Wow.
Until we realized, oh no, that's not the case.
So in your mind, everybody was like this.
Yes, it was normal for us.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys were doing this till you were 16, 15, 16. Was it high school you transitioned and got, oh, I can sing this? Or was it college?
As far as the a cappella stuff,
Well, I said when you talked about singing, you said you realized that no, everybody didn't do this. Did you realize that when you were in high school, or did you realize that when you were
elementary school?
Oh.
It was elementary school because my brothers and I, actually Brian's 7 years younger, so it was the three of us who pretty much grew up together. And then Brian came along, and then we had a quartet. And Brian sang in that quartet from the time he was probably 6 or 7 years old.
Wow.
So by that time, I knew everybody couldn't sing because if he was 7, I was 14. So before that, though, you would have chorus, in school.
Yeah.
Back when they had music programs in schools. And I remember, like it was yesterday, in the 6th grade, I had a teacher named Ms. O'Lear. And every morning, we would say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we would sing like the Star Spangled Banner or whatever. She would always have me sing. And at the time, I was like, okay, cool, no big deal to me. But then I realized as I would hear other kids singing, I was like, hey, wait a minute. That's not the way that song goes. But yeah, it was early. It was 5th, 6th grade or so, where I was like, wow, our family, I suppose, is very different from most people.
So did you think, oh, I have a passion for this now. I want to sing, like for real sing?
No. I was extremely introverted and shy growing up. So I sang because my mom made me sing. And I sang in the quartet with my brothers because there was safety in numbers. I love to sing. I just didn't want to do that as a vocation or out in front of people. But my mom every week would make us get up and sing in church or whatever like that. And we would be so mad at her, but I'm so happy that she made us.
See, Mom's the original founding member of Take Six. Don't get it wrong. You don't get that credit anymore. See? Did I call that right?
You called it very right. And when I did start the group, it's one of those things where, when you tell your parents, hey, I think I want to pursue this music thing, a lot of parents are like, yeah, but you're going to pursue this other thing because, music, that can't be in the forefront. So you got to have a backup plan of some sort. My parents, especially my mom, was like, do what you want to do, and I was like, okay. So that's what I was doing. Absolutely.
Nice. So parents was like, come on, baby, you can do this. Go on, sing, girl.
You can do this. That's right.
I love it, man. I love when parents come behind the kids and like, you got this, you can do this. That is so cool. That's so cool. So as the founding member then, you are the founding member of Take 60, of course, the incredible award-winning a cappella group, which is an a cappella group doesn't even really cover what you guys do. That's kind of a lame term for it because you're so much more than that. But what you did and how you've done what you've done, did you ever consider, okay, maybe I want to be a solo artist, or did you always think I'm going to have a group and I'm going to be a group together?
So remember what I said. Growing up, I was extremely shy. So I started a group because I was like, I love singing, but there's no way that I'm going to be up in front of people by myself. So that's why initially I started a quartet in college, and we were pretty much a barbershop, doo-wop style quartet. And I wanted to sing bass in that group because I have a low speaking voice. And
you do.
And so it didn't work out that way. But because I grew up listening to groups like Earth, Wind and Fire and the Spinners and the Shy Lights and all of this, I could sing the high parts too. And I was like, well, I'll sing the first tenor, and that's what stuck. So yeah, I never wanted to be a solo artist, and this group just, it blew up. It took years. People think that it happened overnight, but it was a hobby for the first few years, and we went through a lot of different members because it was just fun for us to do. And when we came upon the lineup that everybody was like-minded and musically like-minded, it was like, whoa, let's see what can happen with this.
And see, that's where I was going with the next question. So, you talked about what was influencing you, what you listened to. Were there specific influences that helped shape the sound that you were listening for as you were building Take Six?
Absolutely. So growing up, I also played the trombone. And
you
so
played check you out.
I started playing trombone in 4th grade. And so when I got to junior high and high school, I was in the stage band, which was the #1 band in school, and I was in the jazz band, and I was in the orchestra. And so I knew I wanted to have a career in music, but I thought it was going to be doing orchestrations and being in some kind of band, because that was my forte. So as far as influences, I grew up listening to the Glenn Miller Band and Quincy Jones's big bands, and now I can't think of it. Woody Herman and the Thundering Herd.
Wow.
So those are my guys. But I also listened to a lot of vocal music through the late 60s and all through the 70s. And, we had all these albums at home. We had the Fifth Dimension, we had the Hawkins family. We had James Cleveland. We had all of that stuff. And then through the 70s, I was listening to the Doobie Brothers and Ambrosia and Earth, Wind and Fire and Hall and Oates and Steely Dan. So all of those groups were influences for me.
And they just don't make groups like that anymore, no? I mean, these were groups that had to know how to play, had to know harmonies, had to know how to construct songs. They had to know how to come into the music and make it breathe. We just don't get that. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that if you watch any of the behind the music things for any of those groups, you see that a lot of them kind of grew up together, or they met at a point where they lived together and they were poor and they were struggling, but there was all music there. And there was that bond of friendship and family even that made their music so amazing. And so they had to learn to write. They had to learn to get along and do all the things that were necessary to be a real band. And I think that, that was pretty much how Take Six was formed as well.
Wow. So speaking of formation, you kind of cut your teeth in Huntsville, Alabama. My wife's going to go yay for this video because she's from Huntsville, Alabama. But that's where you went to school, and that's kind of where, you started to form everything as far as putting the band together. And then you guys were singing in local churches and the whole thing. When did it hit you that, man, this thing could be something big? This could work. When did it hit you?
So we were at school for a while, and I was out of school already. And I started a group in 1980 at 17 years old. Remember, it was a quartet then. Mark Kibble comes into a restroom where we're doing, we're rehearsing, adds a 5th part to what we're doing and starts arranging for the group. We add one more member and we're like, whoa, this is something really special. Because people who know about Oakwood University, Oakwood College back then from Huntsville, Alabama, know that school had an amazingly rich heritage of music, and specifically a cappella groups. So we were just one more of the groups there until we became a sextet. And then we were like this other thing, So yeah, it became this thing where we're like, around 1985 was when we came upon a new lineup of the bottom 3. We got a new bass named Alvin Chia, who's with us to this day. Cedric Dent, who was with us up until about 7 years ago. He's a professor now at MTSU in Tennessee. And David Thomas. So that was the fourth tenor, actually second tenor, but the fourth part down, then the baritone and the bass. When we came upon those three, we knew the group was so special that we needed to do something outside of just singing on the campus and in churches. And so the very first thing we did was to do a showcase in Nashville, Tennessee, which was 2 hours away.
Wow.
And that one showcase got us our very first record deal.
Get out. The first time out of Huntsville, you go to Nashville and boom.
Yep. We got a deal with Warner Brothers Records, the country music division of Warner Records.
Get out. You couldn't have put that together any better. That was a God wins all by itself. You just landed that space.
Absolutely. So let me go a little deeper into that, because it's kind of funny when I say the country music division and stuff. But what that enabled us to do was, well, let me back up. So the president of that division came to the showcase uninvited. He thought that he was coming to hear a group that he had heard about that had come out of Huntsville, Alabama, and that was us. So he came down, listened, and after the showcase said to us, "I love what you guys are doing. I have no clue what we would do with it, but I would like to sign you." So in signing us and having no idea what to do, that left us alone in the studio.
Oh, wow.
So they didn't send producers in to shape the sound and to pick the songs and all of this stuff. So we did exactly what we wanted to do, which were all the songs we had been singing for, up to that point, almost, 10 years.
Yeah. You had it down pat by then.
We had it down pat. So we recorded all the songs we knew, and that became our first album.
Get out.
That was 1987. First album came out in 88.
Your story just gets better and better, right? So here you are, you land in Nashville, you recorded your first project, you get signed, and as the vision for Take Six starts to grow, the naysayers come out, because they always come out when you're on your way out. How did you handle the naysayers? How did that come about for you?
Okay, so we had always had naysayers. Because let's go back to Oakwood. Oakwood is a Seventh-day Adventist institution. Seventh-day Adventism is a very conservative religion. Very conservative. So we were like the devil's kids. Thinking these extended jazz chords and all of this stuff. We had to stay there from the very beginning. They wouldn't let us sing in the church. We had to sneak to rehearse and all this kind of stuff. So it's funny because when our album came out, all of a sudden everybody in Oakwood is like, "We knew you guys would."
Oh, don't you hate that? Don't you hate that?
Yeah, it was funny though, and it happened so quickly for us that if there were any other naysayers, we didn't have time to sit around and hear from them. Because that first album blew up. And it was crazy because Jim Ed Norman, who's the gentleman who signed us, basically said, and I quote, "If you guys sell 25,000 copies or whatever, we'll be happy." Because for him, it was one of these things where it was a love of the music. And he was like, "Let's just do this," because at that time, record companies had so much money and they had, they were able to do all kinds of things. And so this one-off project that he was going to do with these young black guys from Alabama, he said 25,000 copies. And to this date, it's over 2 million copies of that first record. And it won 2 of the 3 Grammys we were nominated for. So again, it was so quick that it was a whirlwind for us once the album came out. So naysayers, I'm sure they were always there. And when I think back about it, the biggest thing was there are people in the contemporary Christian and gospel industry who thought we were secular. And then there are people in the secular industry who thought that we were gospel. So I think there were naysayers on both sides in that sense, where you got haters who are like, "Oh, y'all ain't gospel." And then there are people that say, "Oh, y'all ain't secular." We're like, well, we just do what we like to do. So
we just do us, and that's okay.
And that's what I say to people when I'm coaching and teaching people music. I'm like, do what is uniquely and authentically you. because this music business can be a cruel mistress at times. So you
Mm.
better love her.
Mm. And you know, I meet and I interview a lot of successful people, and the one of the main threads that people share with me is that um, they have to be what you are. You find out what you do. Don't emulate somebody else. Don't try to fit in somebody's box. Don't try to if the naysayers tell you, oh, it's not going to happen. Don't worry about it because they don't see your vision. You stay you. Your authentic you will take you way further. And you're another example of that. You guys were authentically you. No one came in the studio to tell you how to shape your sound. You walked into a studio, did what you do all the time for 10 years, and it was successful right out the gate because nobody messed with you. They just let you be you. No?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I think it should be even much more so today in the business because there's so much out there. The world is inundated with people who believe that they're creative, that they're artists and musicians.
Yeah, we got a
So
lot of
you
that.
might as well be you, because if you can always be compared to somebody,
Hmm.
and if you are aligned too closely with someone who you idolize or emulate or whatever, they're already them.
Hmm.
Don't come behind to be a copy of that, even if you're better, so to speak. Find
Mm.
something that's unique about you, and it'll find an audience. Trust.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So with this enormous success out the gate, you're walking into Grammys, and then you end up with Dove Awards, and you're touring the world. I mean, it becomes a global phenomenon. You guys go all over the place. In your mind, was this always the goal to be quote unquote this success, or was it a ministry thing in the beginning? Because like you said, people thought you were secular, people thought you were gospel. Was it a ministry thing that developed into something, or was it just always going to be the goal?
Man, these questions are great. You got to remember, we were kids. We came out of a church school. So at the time, at the very beginning, yes, it was a ministry, but you don't know what your ministry is until you grow into it. We knew that we were called and whatnot, but all of a sudden now we're on this secular label and we're singing for kings and queens. And like you said, all of these awards and stuff, and all of these things were happening in the secular world. So we had to grow into this thing of ministry to sit ourselves down and say, basically, what is our mission statement? Who are we for real? And to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable over time to that, because it's easy to get, pulled and pushed all kinds of different ways if you don't know who you are. So I would say that the ministry portion of it became really strong and a really core fiber thing for us somewhere 5-6 years into our professional career.
Wow. Wow. So it did become a focus, and I'm sure you sat down and said, look, we got to uphold a certain standard. If we're going to be out here singing these songs, whatever, we don't want to be singing booty music. We don't want to do. We just need to be able to say, hey, Take Six is at this level. We represent this. We want people to know our faith. We want people to know what we stand for. And that's something to uphold in the music industry. Is tough because they will pull you, like you said, yank you around left and right, and you don't know where you end up. Oh, just do this or try this. And you're like, no, man, this is who we are. Either this is good or you're not going to take us. I'm sure you had to make some stance on those times.
Oh, yeah, yeah. As we became more successful, that's when the record company did kind of step in. That's when you're like, yeah, so that last album was really great, but what we'd like to see you to do in the next one. And you're like, and so you are swayed a little bit by that too, because, success breeds all kinds of things, especially amongst the six of us, where you're like, well, if we just did a little bit more of this, maybe we'd have a little bit more of this. And every time we would go outside of what was really comfortable for us, it would pretty much fall back in our faces, because it wasn't really us. When we tried to be R&B, we're not R&B. We tried to be, and don't get me wrong, I think that there's a lot of talent in this group, and we've worked with some amazing people. I think we've done some really, really great things that are outside of what people know Take Six to be.
Sure.
But when we fall back into the tight a cappella jazz, um, spiritual arrangements that we do, that's where we live, man. That's where we breathe,
Mm,
And
that's
I
so
think that
good.
even the record company had to sit back and say, you know what? Yeah, this is who these guys really are, you
And don't
know?
change them. They got here from being them. Why are we going to change them to try to keep them successful? I don't get it.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah. And
So so.
success can be measured a lot of different ways too.
Mhm.
And I like to share that with people. People think that success is, millions of albums sold, hit singles, and blah blah blah. To me, I've been in this business now for 33 years professionally. That's
Mm.
success.
Mm.
You know,
Yes.
I'm able
Yes.
to continue being in this business, whether or not we release an album this year or have a hit single last year or next year or whatever, because people have bought into what it is we do and who it is that we are. And
Mm.
so we're always trying to raise the bar as far as our musicality and everything. And but we stay true to who we are so that we can continue having a career.
Mm. So good. So good. So good. So on that thought, then you said that there's six of you. So there's six voices. There's six individuals. There's six opinions. Inevitably, there's going to be tension because there's too many voices, or there's multiple voices want to make their stay. How did you guys make decisions with six voices, or was there a democracy, to get things done, or how it was directed to build the vision with six of you?
It took us a while, but we've always been a true democracy, and that has worked for us. And I think that has enabled us to uh, truly stand the test of time. But what also happens with a true democracy is sometimes it takes a long time to make decisions. And sometimes the decision that you come away with is um, not as crazy as what you thought you wanted to do, and not as terrible as some other. You know what I mean? It's somewhere
Hmm.
in the middle to where you find what works for you, and that can be frustrating at times. But I think this group is unique amongst a lot of groups, and I know a lot of groups out there.
Yeah, I bet
We
you do.
actually like each other
Yeah.
and we respect each other. And what that means is when we have problems and disagreements and disappointments, we air it out, we talk about it. But we don't just air it out just to get it out so that someone can either feel better about it or somebody bad about it or whatever. We get these things out there so that they can be worked on, they can be managed, people can be heard, and we can move forward in a spirit of cooperation. You
So
know?
smart. So smart. So
Yeah.
well done.
Oh my
See,
goodness.
you make it sound easy, but I know it's not.
The more you do it, it's like iron sharpening iron.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And so I'll go to bat for any and every one of the guys, and they'll do the same thing for me because we have been able to do this for so long that there's that respect factor that we are truly family. And we've gone through stuff, marriages, divorces, births, deaths, um, scandal. We've got all kinds of stuff. And you rely on your family in that safe place through all of those things. And that's what we've been able to do.
And I think you said it perfectly. You start to respect each other. But I was going to say, over some time, there becomes a trust. Like, I trust this person has my best interest at heart. Even though we may disagree about what the direction of this song or this, that, and the other thing, I trust that this person is family, and that no matter what he's saying, he's got my best interest. That's got to be a very, strong thread between six people. No.
It's amazing. And even when there are disagreements that come up, and they do, you've got to get it out right away. And you got to get it out in a way that is respectful and in a way that we want to make sure that we come together and we're not fighting each other, but we're melding together so that you understand why I'm upset. I understand why you don't feel a certain way. So that at the end of the day, we say, you know what? I feel you, and let's move forward, my brother.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So over the years, then you've had people come and go. The lineup has changed, and you still be the original founder. I'm sure you had a vision. You have a sound. It's moved forward. It's been successful. How do you keep the consistency of the sound or the chemistry when people are coming and going? How does that happen?
Great question. So we've only had two changes, thank God. Um, the most recent one was Christian Dentley replacing Cedric Dent. But before he took over full-time duties, they were cohabitating as baritones in the group for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
So that was a good stretch of time to where we were used to what both guys were able to do, even though they would approach things musically and sonically different. Now, the only other change was when Mervyn Morin left and Joey Kibble, who's Mark Kibble's younger brother, came in. And that was in 1990. That was 30 years ago.
Wow. Okay, so there haven't been a ton of changes.
No.
Okay.
So we've had a very uniform sound for a long time, but that sound comes from the brain of Mark Kibble. So those arrangements are what make Take Six. The guys can come and go, and I dare say if I were to leave the group, since I sing on top, the sound of the group would change, or if Alvin left because he sings the bass, the sound of the group would change. Not that anyone else isn't important, because I think all of us are really important to the sound. But typically, when you hear a group, you understand and gravitate towards the melody a lot of times, and whoever's singing that, and they have a certain sound. And if they're a vocal group with a bass, you hear that person as well. So.
Yeah, that's well done and well spoken. So let's take a long breath and think about, you have been in this business 40 years now. Wow, because you said 1980, so that's 40 years of singing. What? Yeah, and you said that to you represents what success could be, that you're doing what you love to do and you're still doing it this many years later as a professional now. But has the passion for everything changed for you at year 40 than it was at year 2?
Man, that's another great question.
You know these questions are coming.
I think the passion comes and goes at times, to be honest with you. I think anything that you've done for a long time, you have to reinvigorate yourself. Sometimes you have to get away from it to appreciate it. Sometimes you have to get away from each other to appreciate each other. So I think that's how we keep the passion up. That's how I keep the passion up. Since this pandemic has started, I haven't seen the guys in literally 4 months, which is probably the longest time we've gone in our entire career without seeing each other. So can you imagine what it's going to be like when we can see each other?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Y'all going to have a party. What's up? You good? It's going to be good love, man.
Exactly. When you talk about the passion being there, we're going to be ready, because we're chomping at the bit to do some stuff. We can record at home and send files here and there, and that's the beauty of technology. But there's nothing like being together, the camaraderie, especially with a vocal group, because you feed off of each other.
Yeah. That's got to be, to not have that space, to not have that energy between each other, you've got to be missing that.
Yes, very much so.
Well, it has been an amazing interview, and I hope I've stung you with some good questions to get you thinking. And I've got one last one, which always puts people in a perspective where they had to think back a little bit, get a little clearer. And I say, with all the success you've had, everything you've come through, is there ever a moment where you look back and go, I wish I would have done that differently? I wish I would have responded differently or had a situation go differently now?
Wow. Yeah, great question. I would have to honestly say, as amazing as our career has been, it's also been the kind of career that's like a storybook. It's weird, because I don't really think about it much until I'm interviewed or until people are talking about the things that we've done. From that first showcase to the Grammys and the Doves and the collaborations that we've done. Those things have been so amazing to me that I don't know that I can script it any differently to say, I wish we had done this a different way, whatever. No. And some people ask the question in a way like they want to know, would you have liked, would you like more success commercially and stuff like that? And I'm like, sure, but I think part of the reason why we're so grounded, and I don't say that in a bragging way, the guys in this group are very grounded. I think part of it is because we've had amazing success, but we've never had the kind of success to where you see people's personalities changing. You know, I'm not sure that human beings are prepared for superstardom. And you see that with so many of our stars. You know, you're not prepared for adulation like that and superstardom.
They implode. They implode when it happens. They don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, imagine if you get to a point where no one tells you no.
All you gotta do is get married.
There's that.
But you smash.
Yeah, I think I'm very happy with the way this career has rolled itself out thus far. Now we got to figure out what to do now that everything is at a standstill. And I'm excited about that too, because I don't know if there's ever going to be a going back to what was normal.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So
there will never be that again. We're evolving to something completely new.
The cheese has been moved.
Yeah, completely. And you said it perfectly, and I'm going to phrase the question back to echo what you said. You said that success to you meant you get to do what you love to do and still doing it for 40 years. And if you changed something, you may not be able to have done what you've done. So why would you change it? If you've landed where you are right now, you can look at every up and down, every left and right, and go, it all brought me here. And if here is good, then I'm good. I don't need to change anything, right?
Yeah, I like the way you said it better.
Well, man, I sure do appreciate taking a few minutes of your time. I mean, I love your story, and I know that there's so many people out there that are trying to do their dream, trying to chase their impossible. And here you are, starting from a small town in Huntsville, Alabama, to Nashville, boom, explode, then immediate success, then back and changing people, putting together your dream, and landing in a studio and doing what you love and having it hit right away. That was just amazing. And now, 30 years later, you're still doing what you love. Maybe evolving it, changing it, but still doing what you love. That's all that matters, man. That's it. That's everything for me, no?
Yes, you can wake up every day and say, you know what? I dig what I do. That's it, man.
And I want the subscribers to feel that. I want you guys to be able to wake up every day, do what you love to do, get paid for it. That's your job, but love it and still be doing it when you're 20, 30 years later and still loving what you do. Get them every day and wanting to do it. It's just completely different. That's success, right, guys?
There you go.
Oh, man. So, you know what? If there's anything we can do for you, Mr. Claude, how can we see anything new coming from Take Six, or how do we get a hold of you guys? Because I know sometimes people want to reach out and say thank you, or see new information, new songs, new work from you guys. How do they find you?
Take Six is all over social media, so you can find us, first and foremost on our website, take6.com. So all of our stuff is there. We launched something really cool a few months ago during the pandemic, at the beginning of it. Our very first single was called Spread Love. And so we did a hashtag Spread Love 2020 challenge to where we re-recorded all of the background vocals of that song and made them available on our website and said to people, do what you want with them and then send it to us and let us check it out. And we've had so many amazing musical submissions all over the world, Brazilian stuff to hip hop to rap to all kinds of stuff using these stems, which is what they're called. So every Tuesday evening we have invited someone onto our Facebook Live. It's a Take Six official Facebook Live, and talked to them and played their arrangement of it. We can be found on Instagram at Take Six Official as well. Twitter, Take Six Official. and we're recording, man, just doing stuff and having fun.
I love it, man. I love that idea. Let them sing against spread, because that was one of my favorites. Of course, spread love, love is all we need. That was one of the best, right? And your first one, so what can you go wrong with that, right?
It's
But
fun,
man,
man.
you
So
know what?
we recorded the whole thing, did a video of it, sent those stems out, and the stuff we're getting back, we're literally saying, maybe we should do a song like this.
Right. You need to call those guys in the studio and say, let's get this going.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Well, man, again, thank you so much for sharing your story, and to all the subscribers that are watching, we sure hope you enjoyed this amazing journey of one of the most gifted songwriters, singers. I'm going to say just songwriter, not singer, but so much more, that has shared a story with us. So take care, guys. Wash those hands. Be safe out there. Look forward to seeing you